Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Malik, and I'm the head of content marketing here at MHC. And I'd like to thank you for joining our webinar today about how modern and smart document automation can reduce IT workload. Please note today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording. In addition, all participants are going to be muted. So if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A, and we will follow up with you after the webinar. Before I introduce our speaker, I just want to quickly give you a snapshot of MHC for those not familiar with us. We are headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. 2001 was the year we were established and became a pioneer in document automation, automating the generation of critical business documents for vendors, for employees, and of course for customers. We have over 1,300 global customers across 50 countries and over 100 integrations to other enterprise business systems. As shown on the bottom, we're recognized by a variety of esteemed analysts that cover the CCM space, including Aspire, IDC, QKS Group, and Aragon Research. And most importantly, we have a satisfied and loyal customer base, with over 40% of our customers being with us more than 15 years, as well as excellent peer reviews on G2. And as a note, if there are any customers on the line today, we are currently offering a $50 gift card for any reviews posted to G2. So please go and make your voice heard. In terms of our CCM solution, NorthStar CCM empowers non-technical business users to create and manage customer communications with AI-driven speed and precision. And that leads us to today's presentation and our speaker. I'd like to introduce Shawn Phillips. He is the product manager for NorthStar CCM, and he brings over 25 years of tech and customer experience expertise to his role. He's driven by a simple philosophy: great technology should make everyone's day better, customers and employees alike. His practical, hands-on approach helps companies streamline how they talk to customers, making every message count. Before joining MHC, Shawn was employed at Heart of the Customer, where he worked with Fortune 100 companies to improve how they connect with customers, everything from reducing pain points to enhancing key moments in the customer journey. So welcome, Shawn, and over to you.
Thank you so much. All right, so today's discussion comes down to one thing. That is, if you're an IT person, you don't have to do it all yourself. If you're not an IT person, but are in charge of making sure communication it goes out or is received from customers, you don't have to rely on IT. There are tools out there to help you do it. And so we're going to talk about how people can design and update templates, simplify workflows, and personalize and tailor communications without adding extra workload on the IT folks. So if we look at communication today, legacy systems are still slowing things down. 71% of enterprises still rely on legacy CCM platforms that require IT intervention for updates. A lot of the people that come to us to buy or update our product, it's IT people. IT come in and say, what can this system do? And that's great. We work really well with them. My background is IT, born and bred geek. That's the type of folks I love. But what's interesting is that it's still so reliant on IT to do so much of the work. And what happens here is that there's this black box from the business's point of view that is IT. You ask them for something, and then you have to wait. And it's not because the IT people don't care or the IT people aren't competent. It's just there's so much to do. And if you look at this, IT resources have to define and work on complex templates. We have a customer that's updating 600 templates right now. And fortunately, they're using a tool where they don't have to use their IT folks. They started down their path and then they brought in some designers because they're using a tool that they can use business users, but their IT resources were swamped designing these templates. Compliance with accessibility rules falls on IT. Each new workflow, oh, we need to do this little different thing for this customer or this different use case, falls to IT. And then any kind of communication updates, what happens is all these requests are coming in and IT gets pulled from what is often their core job to do these extra things in communication. But the problem is that this communication isn't just an explanation of benefit, a discharge summary if, say, you're in healthcare, your statement if you're a bank or a wealth management team. These communications are core to building the trust and loyalty of customers. They're not just, hey, it's this little paper that goes. It's something that's important to people. My retirement information is very personal to me, and it's important that it's right. And I'll give you an example. Several years ago, my mom passed away, and we worked with this amazing financial planner to migrate things over and get things organized. And he was great. 6 months later, I got some junk mail produced by a CCM platform. And I hate to call it that, but it was a letter by some senior vice president saying, oh, I'm so sorry your mom died 6 months ago. And here are ways you can use our portal to get at everything. And I was like, are you kidding me? I already have a portal. I've already been engaged with people. And so this letter made me go, oh, well, I guess they just churn these things out and they don't really matter. It was a communication that helped lose trust in a really pivotal moment in a journey. And so it's not about I'm sending out this letter. It's about I'm sending out communications that matter. And the people that need to do it, who are the right people to do this? Well, I love my IT peeps. IT people are smart. But the people that to do it, there are communication experts out there. There are people that are excellent at communications. There are people that are hired to do this. There are content creators that know how to write, know how to make things look really good, communication managers that know how to say, this needs to follow this needs to follow this. The people that work with customers every day and our favorite people, the compliance officers. Apologize if there are any on here. You're great people. It's very important that we get the right information in the right format to people. But these folks, they're hired and they're connected to customers and they're hired to be able to make sure the communication is right. And when you have tools that take this out of their hand and they write up, hey, this is what I want, and they pass it over to IT for IT to execute, what happens is there's a lot that gets left in translation. I have a fun cartoon at the end for you to see for your enjoyment, but we'll see that at the end. So these are the people that you need to put in charge of doing the communications because they're the ones that are most adept and expert to do this. So how do we do that? How do we enable your non-technical business users? And what I'm going to talk about really is three different things here. It's the template designers, the templates that you use every day that create those insurance cards, that create those after visit summaries, that create the contracts, all of those things, those editors. We're also talking about the workflow designs and then also creation of forms so that you can collect data from your customers. So the first thing are those templates and those template editors. And you have to make sure that you have template editors that are WYSIWYG. We'll talk about that in a second. If we were in a class, I'd have you raise your hand saying how many of you know what WYSIWYG is, but we'll get to that. Make sure there's easy integration with data sources, and they have to have these built-in compliance tools. So, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. I love that. I asked Haley, if you see the little thing that says MHC at the top, that's Haley. Haley's hiding behind that. Say hi, Haley. I asked Haley, do you know what WYSIWYG is? She's like, I have never heard of that. Well, WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. This is obviously not a new concept. WYSIWYG was first applied in the computer world in the late 70s, became super popular in the 80s, especially when like Microsoft Word came out and like you could put tables and everything, and when you hit print, it looked exactly like what was on the screen. 40 years ago, that was a new, exciting concept, right? Cool. Except what you see on your screen right now, on the right, that is a screenshot of how I saw somebody editing a template 6 weeks ago. They went in to the code and were adjusting the XML so that things would be tweaked exactly right. That is not WYSIWYG. There are so many tools out there that if you look on the left, this happens to be our publisher tool, looks a lot like Microsoft Word. Just about any business user could pick up this tool. It looks exactly like it's going to print out, the formatting, everything it looks. If you don't have a WYSIWYG tool, which is sad to say that a lot of times you don't, you're not going to be able to give this to the users to use, to work. And so there are so many tools out there, but that's the first thing. For you to give access to customers, you have to have a WYSIWYG tool that they can just log in and go, oh, I know how to bold, I know how to italicize, I know how to move this. Oh, this is how you put a table in. It has to be easy. But once you give them a tool that's easy to use, now those updates to those documents don't have to go into the IT queue. They just go into the queue of work to do for the people that are in the business. And I remember doing this with it was like an insurance card, like a health insurance card. And they had to change the 800 number because the 800 number changed and the logo had changed because instead of being, I probably can't say the name of the company. It was instead of being something something of New York, it was just going to be something something because they were expanding to new territories. And it took 4 months to get that updated. Not because the IT people were lazy, not because they were incompetent. They had so much to do, and making that little change wasn't important. If you have a WYSIWYG editor, you can give this to people. They can make the changes, save it, update it, test it, go. The next thing is drag and drop data. Now, I had a different picture here 2 days ago. But yesterday I was in a training and somebody was showing how they do templates and how they put data in templates. And I'm like, oh, I really should show this because what this is showing is I'm in Salesforce. I highlight the name of a field in Salesforce. I copy it. Then I go over in Microsoft Word and then I paste it in there. And I have to make sure I have the greater thans on either side of it to make sure that it's known to be a field. That's okay, but it's clunky. The experience isn't easy. And when you have something like that, you probably can't hand it off to a user and say, hey, by the way, you have to copy and paste and do all that. There are so many tools, and what you should expect from your template editor now is you should expect to be able to have on the right or on the left, here's a list of my fields. I drag it over. And if I drag over a group of fields, it creates a table for me with those fields in it. So you should be able to just drag and drop or right click, insert field, and the field goes in there. You shouldn't have to be copying and pasting from different other places. Saw this one where somebody was copying file field names from a JSON file into their editor. I'm like, that works if you're going to rely on IT to do the work, but that's not where the work should lie. The work needs to go to the people who are going to be sending the letters. It should go to the people who are sending the communications, who are actually communicating with the customers. Let them do it because they know what it needs to look like. They know what data needs to be in there. Empower them to do that. Give them an editor that allows them to easily use it. And the last thing I'm going to mention here around editors, an editor really needs to be able to check whether it's meeting compliance. And next month, we are going to have folks from Dialogue Group, one of our partners in the Netherlands, going to talk to us in a webinar about accessibility. So that's a month out. There'll be details on that a little later. But compliance is so important. So WCAG, what is it? 2.1 AA is what's required as of June 28th of this year. So people have to comply with that accessibility standard so in the PDFs they produce in the EU. And so it is really important for you to have a tool that when a user is creating it, they can hit a button that says, check to see if it's compliant. If it is, great, I'm good. If it's not, to be able to say, here's the error, go ahead and fix this. And what that does is gives people the confidence that what they're putting out there is compliant. And so you have this editor or these editors that make it so that it's easy to use, easy to pull data in, and you know that what you're delivering is compliant. There are tools out there to do that, but those type of tools, those easy to use tools are the ones that you want to give to your users so that they can do that work because they're closest to the work. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are workflows. Here's a sample workflow. I collect data, and then up top, I render the PDF. Let's call it a statement. At the bottom, I render the email that's supposed to be part of that is attached to that PDF. I group them and I attach them and I send the email. So if I go and I send the email, but I also want to copy this to my portal so that if the customer doesn't save the email or doesn't download, they can always go to my portal. In this case, I'm assuming the company is using Box for their portal for their file storage. And so we're copying that to Box. And so a customer then can come in to Box and get the file. Now, about 4 months ago, I was talking to one of our customers, and they're a typical CCM shop where they start with IT as the starting point, and they lost a few developers over the years, and they were wanting to do a new type of workflow. And they're like, Shawn, can you talk to us? Can you walk us through the API calls that we might need to do this? And like I said, I might be a product manager now. My whole life I've been a geek. And so I was like, sure, I can walk you through the API calls that you need. So I got on the phone with the developer and their project manager and talked to them. And they were like, okay, we need to do this. I need to do an overlay. And then I need to add this other, it was like a medical um, set of terms and conditions or regulatory announcement that had to be included with the file, and then it needed to be saved somewhere. And he was like, okay, so what do I need to do for this? What do I need to do for that? He's like, all right, it's going to take me like 4 weeks to put this all together and test it. I'm like, wait a what, you're going to write code to do this? I was like, just a second, wait, let me show you this. So we're 20 minutes into the meeting. And I bring up the editor. I was like, you want to collect the data, then you want to render this, and then you want to add this overlay, and then you want to add this other thing, and you want to send it out. I'm like, this is the flow, right? They're like, yeah, give me the data. And the meeting went over because it took me 45 minutes to get the information from, but we built that flow. And that's the type of flow that you need so that anybody could sit in, drag the information up and say, this is what we're doing. And anybody looking at it knows what's going on and what the flow is. And so you need to be able to give to customers or the users in community in your company a tool that allows them to do that, so or speeds up the development process. So a developer doesn't do this, maybe a BA can do that. And so giving tools that help the business users design the workflow is so important to be able to take some of that burden off of IT, give it to the folks that are really caring and are close to what the workflow needs to be, and let them do the work. The last thing that I want to mention is having people being able to author personalized communication. And really, this is about communication being two-way. So in the CCM world, so much time people think about, I'm creating these 100,000 documents, or I'm creating this document on demand that I'm sending out. And that's great. But communication with customers, with vendors, with employees is two-way. You need to collect data and you need to send data out. And so in order to enable people, what you need to do is give them tools to be able to do that. And so the first thing you need to have, and if you look at CCM platforms across the world, the ones that are the best have a built-in forms builder. Now, some built-in forms builder, I saw one 2 months ago where the customer would say, here are the 4 fields we want, and this is how we flow it. And then somebody would jump into Visual Studio and program the fields and post it, and there it was. That's one way to do it. Or you can have a forms builder that is on your CCM tool where somebody can say, okay, here are the things we need. So in this case, this would be somebody from a bank saying, I need to create a application for a specific loan. And so they go in and they say, here are the fields, here are the different pages, this is what I need to collect. And about 3 years ago, I was doing a project with a bank down in Miami. So they were based in Miami, but they're a bigger bank. And for whatever reason, they had a strong connection with a group of folks from Peru. So for whatever reason, there was a connection with a group of folks in Peru. And as people were applying for mortgages, so this was the mortgage applying process that we put on a form, there had to be a change. For their tax documents, they had to upload specific documents that related to income in Peru versus US because they didn't have US. They had to be able to do a Peruvian address versus a Miami local address. So there were some basic changes that needed to happen to the form. It took roughly 6 months to get those changes in because it just got added to the workload and eventually, and so all these folks that were applying for these loans had to, instead of filling out the form, they'd have to fill out the form and then they'd have to call the banker and say, okay, SKS, sorry, I am from Peru, so I couldn't provide this automatically. Can I send you an email? So there was a process that was flawed. And if we could have updated the form really quickly, then all those extra conversations, that slower process, that bad customer experience could have been avoided. And so having a tool that is easy to build so that you don't have to have somebody who is a programmer build a form to collect information. And building those forms to collect information isn't just for customers. You're not just building a form for a customer to be able to go out and fill out an application. You're also building something so that if somebody calls the call center and they're saying doing a change of beneficiary form, you can talk, somebody, the frontline staff can talk, fill in the key information and hit submit. And then the document that needs to be created will then be created by the system and be sent out. And so we also do this with we have surveyors. So they go and they survey property. They have these forms. They fill out the forms, hit go, and then a surveyor report gets created. And so it's not just the customers that fill out the form, it's also the staff. And that surveyor form, that was almost 100% business user driven. It was like, well, we need this form, we need this field. And they were able to build that out, and they already knew what the surveyor report was supposed to be. And so they were able to drag the data. So once again, back to that drag and drop data, drag the data into the surveyor report so that when they hit submit, it took everything they entered in the form and sent it off and said, here's the report ready to go. And so I guess I'm a little passionate about this because it's so long since WYSIWYG came out. It's so long since IT has had to do all of the work, and yet we still do it. So MuleSoft did a benchmark in 2023 that says 66% of IT teams report a significant backlog of work, and customer communications change requests compete with other high priority tasks. I would guess 66% is low because every IT team I know about, all my friends that are working in IT, they all have a significant backlog of work. And for them to say, oh, I need to update these two fields on this application form, it just doesn't happen. And so I'm passionate about this because it's important that the communications go out. It's important that the communications are updated. It's important that the communications are right. And if you put all of the burden on IT, you're making it so that the communications process slows down. And so the message of this whole thing is this: let your customer teams, let the teams that are in your business do the work because they're closest to it. Don't let them just define it and send it to you. Let them build the communications. Let them define the workload. Let them enable the business process with forms, right? You don't have to do it. I know there are a lot of tools out there. IT is very capable, but there are now tools out there where you can give these things to your business users so that they can do it, and you only have to deal with it when there's some kind of a significant error or there's some type of new connection that needs to be set up. So there are tools out there so that the IT folks can give it to the business users. And if you are somebody working at a hospital or somebody working at a bank and you need to update information, you don't have to rely on IT and their overburdened workload. You can bring that in-house and be able to do that because there are tools out there to support you. So I mentioned way at the front, I'd show a cartoon. And this isn't the most inspirational cartoon, but I've seen hundreds of versions of this over the years where you have marketing requests something, sales says, no, it needs to be this, then it get designed differently. And in the end, what the customer really wanted was this tire swing. And if you let your customer teams do it, if you let the teams that talk to customers do the work of customer communications, you're going to get much closer to the tire swing and it'll happen so much faster. And there are tools out there that you can use, template builders, form builders, and workflow builders that are designed so that users, regular business users, can do this without having IT involvement. All right, so that's my point. That's the deal. There are tools out there so that IT doesn't have to be overwhelmed and you can get the communications out faster. Sharon, Haley, were there any questions that came up?
Oh, thanks, Shawn. If people do have questions and they want to put them in the Q&A, we're going to do a follow-up after the webinar. So I think we're going to wrap it up for there since we're at time. But I want to say thank you, Shawn, so much for your passion and your insights on this topic. I know this is like what you do day in, day out. Thank you also to all of our attendees for tuning in. I encourage you to schedule a quick conversation with us, either directly with Shawn through his contact info. You can find him on LinkedIn, or there's a contact us on our website. And then on the final slide, yeah, I just want to reiterate what Shawn had said earlier about a next month's webinar. It's going to be on accessibility with the June 2025 EAA deadline fast approaching. It seems many organizations are focused on the website accessibility, but it's really going beyond that. And that's what we're going to be talking about with Stacey, Shawn, Phillips, and our experts at Dialogue Group, how to really ensure all your digital communications are accessible and compliant. So look for an email from us, and we hope to see you there. And thank you again, Shawn, and all of our attendees. Have a great afternoon and rest of your day.
Bye, all.